Alright, I'm fitting some really large aluminum thresholds. These are 8 inches, right? And I got one hell of a scribe there to do. One hell of a scribe. So I figured I'd show how I do that. Basically, I just take a straight edge. In this case, you know, a little aluminum bar. And I put that bar, and go ahead and shut the door. Closes automatically. That's what that thing does. But I'll put that bar from end to end where I want my threshold to end up. Okay, so that's your straight edge. And the reason this threshold isn't going all the way, these types of floor closers require access. So I'm going to need to cut this in 2 pieces and have the other piece removable. So that's something different. And I got to notch around, you know, all that mess when I get to that side. So back to over here. Basically, you know, once you line up your threshold with your straight edge, you square off and, you know, make all your marks for all your different points. Now, you see, that's the point I'm hitting right there, right now. So, from your longest point, that's about 3 and I'm gonna make it about 3 3/16. So theoretically, I could just take that 3 3/16 and measure against each one of these steps and make a mark and then connect the dots. You know, I've got a few little, you know, like this part here slants, and then this part here has a round over to it. Everything else is pretty well squarish. So I have the luxury of cutting this long and fitting this end in because this is going in on 2 pieces. If this was going in on 1 piece, I would probably end up making a template, you know, for something that with that much movement to it. You know, most thresholds are not that complicated. They just have a couple things to notch on each side. This one this one is rather ornate, but as you can see, you know, it looks really nice once they're all cut in and fit. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut and finish the one I'm working on, and I'll show you how that works out on each side. And once I've made all my marks and connected all my dots, I just use a Sharpie because it'll clean off, and kind of draw my picture on this. You know, I translate that to that. I'm going to cut that out. You know, most of the time I'd like to tell you that it just ends up perfect every time. You know, it normally takes a couple times fine-tuning to get it right, because things are not perfectly square and such. And like I said, I've got room. I've got actually quite a bit of room to shift this and make sure that this is right. So if it takes me a couple times, it's not a big deal. They make little tools to, you know, transcribe, you know, your existing situation onto your workpiece, and those are great. You know, I just reach a point in my life where I've got so many tools to carry around, I just don't feel like I need another one. And this has been working fine for me for, you know, 25 years, so I'm not too worried about it. Maybe if I was a flooring guy and I did this every day, I'd have that tool, but, you know, I cut thresholds, you know, maybe 5-6 times a year, so it's just not something that I'm, you know, really anxious to go out and buy. Plus, I like to use my brain. I don't like to rely on gadgets and stuff. But like I said, for production purposes, if you're doing this all the time, yeah, by all means, get one of those tools. Okay, for my horizontal cuts, or rather my vertical cuts, I use a miter saw for these, and I'm just going to make these cuts. I'm not trying to go this way at all. I'm just making all these cuts because a miter saw will do it quick and accurately. You get a nice clean cut. For all the other ones, I take them to, you know, my board here, clamp it down, and end up using a grinder, and then coming back with some files and cleaning up all the burrs that are on them. And you could use a jigsaw. What I've noticed on this, the metal cutting blade for my jigsaw, just gums up real fast. So I'm not even going to bother with it. So I'm just using a grinder on it. So as you can see, I've made all those cuts with the miter saw, and I'm going to come back and make all the other cuts with the grinder and clean it up with the file. So you got to clamp it down. This grinder wheel is multi-purpose. It's you could use it on stone, metal, you know, all kinds of stuff. I just like it so I don't have to keep switching the blades around. A regular cutoff wheel would work just fine though. Okay, so once you get those pieces ground out and filed down, filing down is really important because those little spurs they're dangerous. They'll cut your fingers up pretty bad and kind of quickly, and not to mention they're just unsightly. But as you can see, that's quite a notch in there, and the reason why you're not seeing tool marks and it looks all clean, I keep some Brasso and a Scotch-Brite with me, and you know, I'll clean that up before I go to fit it. So this way, if I have to make some additional marks, you know, it's not confusing. I don't have existing marks in the way. So I'm gonna go ahead and do this real time, no filters, just so you can see that, you know, sometimes things go wrong. Last thing I want to actually get across to people is that this is simple and you never run into problems. Not the case. You always run into problems everywhere. But you know, the name of the game is you know, learning how to deal with those problems. So let's just see. Let's see. Not a bad fit. Not a bad fit. Okay, so I want to get it perfect though. Well, how do I change a not a bad fit to a perfect fit? And the secret to that is taking a look and seeing where it's hitting. So you see I've got little gaps here and there. I want to take my marker, and everywhere that it's hitting, I'm going to make a little mark. Okay, now I won't need to take too much off, just that little pen mark. And you see like areas like this, I should have cleaned this up a little bit better, but areas like this where part of it is a gap and then the part of it is almost hidden, you know, you're gonna have to kind of take that to an angle that matches. And I think I can live with that. How about this way now? See, I got a little bit room to move forward, not much. But the only one that I'm hitting on is right here. That's the only one. Everywhere else, see, I got a little gap here, a little gap here, a little gap here. I've got room to go that way. So I'm gonna mark that here. All right, and then after that, I think it's going to be fine. I'll go ahead and then get the other side prepared. Okay, so as you can see, that tightened up all my margins really nicely. I'm not saying that it touches in every single spot, but that's, you know, certainly acceptable. So I'm gonna go ahead and live with that because I've got a lot more of these to do, and you know, only so much time you spend on one thing before it becomes you know, more of a hobby than a profession. you know, some things really matter, but now this is going to get sealed also with some sealant along the edge, so well within the tolerance there for that type of thing.